Welcome to Coach SG and Friends, where we discuss topics that help you have a better relationship with yourself and others. I am Coach SG, otherwise known as your joyful friend. I'm a relationship coach and life mentor, an entrepreneur and speaker. I'm based out of Los Angeles, but originally from Brooklyn, New York. I love great music, deep conversations, and inspiring people to live their best emotional lives and create their most amazing love story. So we want to welcome you to our podcast. Let's get started. Welcome back to this week's podcast. I'm in a new location. I thought I'd do something different for the next 4 weeks. This is going to be my workspace. I really love to be inspired by my surroundings, and I chose a cute little Airbnb in Palm Springs. It's a little casita. It's adorable, and in order for me to create, I really take from my environment, and it has to be peaceful. It has to be spa-like. It has to have all these beautiful elements. And this is what my workspace is going to be like for the next 30 days. So I'm really looking forward to it. So I wanted to do the podcast from here. And I was kind of grappling with, what am I going to talk about this week? You talk about relationships with other people, and today I really want to talk about the relationship with yourself. I found, for me personally, that's when my life expanded the most. When I really put that relationship with myself, when I made that a priority in my life. First, I want to say I'm a little bit under the weather. I've been a little under the weather for the last week. And I don't typically get sick, right? And, there were kind of some stressful events that were occurring in my life. And, and I probably, I just allowed it in. And so now I'm just nurturing myself, healing myself, drinking lots of teas, definitely drinking lots of liquids, and making sure that I'm getting well, and I don't want to be around people while I'm not feeling so well. So I was thinking about, what could I talk about this week? And and I love talking about relationships. Like, I could just talk about that all the time. Like, how cool is my job that I created a job that I just talk about relationships? But I thought I wanted to talk about the relationship with yourself, because we're all, we all want to be in the most loving and romantic and beautiful relationship. And that becomes more difficult when you're not loving on yourself enough, right? So I want to talk about this, a little bit more, the relationship with yourself, and how's that going for you? How is the relationship with yourself going for you? Part of the answers to, your relationship struggles, is that relationship with yourself, and if you're really taking care of yourself. And I mean, like, are you really taking care of yourself in that? Are you really feeding the seeds of your soul? Are you really doing things that fill your spirit? And why not? Because you should. Because what I understand is that when you come to a relationship, you're coming, to give and share, right? You're sharing your resources. You're sharing love. You're sharing joy. You're sharing your, vulnerabilities. And you also want to create something beautiful together. You're building this beautiful life. That's the intention behind your relationship, is for you to get together and to create something beautiful. Whether it be kids or a house or business, or just another story of love. That's what we're here for. We're here to create more beautiful things out of love. But we have to take care of ourselves so that we are coming to the relationship thriving. And so what is, like, taking care of yourself, or what is this relationship with yourself? Because I know, when I think about it, I'm like, the more you're self-focused, how can you give to someone when you're just focusing on yourself all the time? And I don't mean in that way. It's kind of like, when you're in a plane and they talk about you putting on your oxygen mask first. Like, you can't share love and joy if you're like, not breathing, and you can barely get up in the morning, and you don't know what it is that you need. You're just depressed, or you're just, the only one that can care for that is you. And, and that kind of takes away from the love that you're sharing, because, you're not thriving now, so all the focus has to be on you thriving. You don't really want to give someone else that responsibility to help you thrive. And I didn't understand that really. When they talk about self-love, you think about like, okay, maybe I'm not as complimentary to myself. But it's deeper than that. It's deeper than not being complimentary to yourself. It's not knowing who you are. It's not listening to yourself. It's not really being authentic. It's and not honoring that. But if you kind of grew up with people telling you what to do all the time, and that, if your behavior was good or bad and you're flexing to everyone, you don't get to know your inner guidance. You don't get to know who you are and why you might feel mad about some things. The emotions teach us about who we are. That's how we are beautifully colored. That we bring a vibe. We can look similar, but we have a different vibe, And, and those emotions make up that vibe. And your sad emotions tell you so much about yourself too. But they're guidance tools. They're not who we are. They let us know if we're moving closer to expansion and closer to love and closer to joy. Those emotions are guiding us to those things. And when we feel sad and we feel frustrated, those are things that let us know that it's taken our energy from us. So we need to figure that out so that we don't stop thriving. And sometimes, that pain will let you know about these injustices that you're just like not cool on and want to be a part of, moving the conversation a different way. So, our emotions really tell us so much about ourselves, as long as we don't blame them on other people. I wanted to ask again, so how's that relationship going with yourself? Are you taking care of you? Are you, and by taking care of you, it doesn't only mean physically, okay, so you don't go to the gym every week. So what? But are you taking care of your mental and emotional state? And, people think that has to look like where you have to be in therapy. And sometimes it's not that. It's just the everyday, it's just like life should be joyful. You should be expanding. You should be growing. You should be savoring your life. And, and not everybody is born into the same circumstances. So, everything is here to teach us. And, you might be experiencing something, that's, where you feel like you cannot be joyful. Because that's kind of just, how life is sometimes. But there are always lessons, and the goal is to live in love and joy and in peace and in prosperity and in curiosity. That's the goal, to live in that, to live in those, in those emotions, and allow the other emotions to let you know when you're moving, away from that, and to, give you more clarity about things. But you really have to be taking care of your mental and emotional state. You should be feeding yourself good thoughts. And sometimes we're just constantly talking about stuff that's not good in our lives. And that becomes a practice, and that becomes normal. doing that day after day after day, it takes a toll on you. So it's really important to make sure that you're feeding yourself thoughts that improve your life, that help you expand and think of things in a new way, that can get you to more satisfaction and not defeat. You know, I used to constantly tell myself that I wasn't good enough in ways, you know, and I don't do that anymore. You know, I'm not perfect, but I don't do that anymore because it doesn't serve me at all. But I was just so used to doing it. And then I would feel bad about who I was. And then I would compare myself to others and always feel behind and would try to think differently. And none of that stuff got me to happiness. You know, it never got me to more joy. It just got me to more sadness and having to really work hard at changing my thinking when I didn't realize I could just choose new thoughts. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know why I would tell myself I'm not beautiful or I'm not smart, or, you know, I really need to lose some weight. Like, no, I don't know, you know, where I learned that from, you know, why my mind tells me that and why I thought for so long that it was okay to have that kind of relationship with myself. Because I get to choose how I think. You know, I want whatever that influences my thinking, helps me to think of my life in a positive way or help me think about myself in a positive way. I don't know, you know, with help of like, you know, Joe Dispenza. I think me getting into more neuroscience helped me to really kind of change how I've created my life. But I decided I just wanted to have this really great relationship with myself. And what I learned or what I know is the more I have a better relationship with myself, the more I expect others to have a great relationship with me as well. In the way that I, you know, take care of myself and in the way that I approach myself. So anyways, this relationship with you, it's the way you think. You know, here's the thing that influences or really affects your happiness is when you're in the realities of your life. You can't get a new experience thinking the same way. You have to think differently. You've got to allow your mind to think differently. You can't just sit in the same thinking. But what happens is your brain is an artifact and it keeps repeating, the stuff that's in there. And as long as you keep expressing it and you keep remembering it and you don't create any new memories or new thinking, you don't add it, you know, to that computer system or to that wheel of thinking, you're not going to change. And I had to start thinking differently about myself, and I couldn't just have been telling myself that I'm overweight and then look in the mirror and think differently. That takes time. So what I had to do was, I had to think of ways that I either had to not think about it at all, tell myself I'm not going to say anything bad about my body, or I had to find ways I could say really good things about my body where, there's parts of my body that I do really love. And I started to love more in those parts. And I had to just refuse to really say bad things about myself. And not have people around me police me either, because that drives me nuts. People will police you about your self-worth. And sometimes you're doing the best that you can and you're noticing and all that. And they want to police, who you need to be. But it's not about them. It's about us, right? So, making sure that you are... whatever thoughts that you're depositing into your mind or you're letting permeate, your mental cage, that you're not allowing it to minimize you and to limit you and to make you feel inferior in some way, because sometimes you can't just get to thinking positive. There has to there's a learning curve, and you've got to know that you've been like in this cyclical thinking, this negative kind of way that you've seen yourself. And so tomorrow you can't be like, I'm a lion, and and I can just like take on the world. It doesn't happen just like that. You really have to change that hardware in your brain, and first off, you just got to stop. You got to just stop or minimize. When I say stop, and then you catch yourself doing it, and you realize, oh, okay, but at least I'm not doing as much as I did yesterday. You really have to continue to change the wiring in your brain so that you can create some new connections. And so how are you thinking, and how you think affects how you feel. And they're interchangeable, and and if we've been feeling bad for a long time, it's hard to just feel good tomorrow. Those emotions are kind of still stuck in our bodies. And that's why we need a lot of movement. It doesn't have to look like treadmill and 5 miles, but it has to look like some kind of movement to get that energy flowing in your body, to kind of change your physiology. But you want to make sure that the emotions that you've been repeating, some of us have been repeating sadness for so long that we think it's a part of our DNA. We think that's just who we are. And sometimes it creates really beautiful music and poetry and all that. So, there's value in it. But, I had to believe that life was meant to be joyful for me, and my experiences shape my thinking, but they don't have to define my happiness or lack thereof, right? So I know that my emotions have a lot to do with whether I feel good or not. And sometimes I was waking up in the morning like with a to-do list. Like I was waking up with like all the stuff that I had to do, or all the stuff that was on my brain. I was waking up productive instead of waking up joyful and peaceful and thankful. Like I wasn't waking up like that. And now I wake up like that. But in order to affect my emotional state, I had to understand about my emotions, and I had to understand, emotional regulation. I was reading books about codependency. I was trying to find out what was wrong with me. I didn't understand that there was nothing wrong with me, that I just didn't know how to keep myself thriving and how to regulate myself when people in my life didn't show up the way I wanted them to, or it affected me in ways that broke my heart. That's not, I was looking for how to fix me, but I didn't understand about emotional regulation, and I didn't understand that, how my emotions really gave me a lot of clarity about my boundaries and who I was, and and who I wanted to be. Where do you get that stuff? But I found it later on, and I'm so happy that I have found it. I'm now sharing it with you all. But that relationship with yourself. So you're taking care of yourself mentally, and you're taking care of your emotions. And the way you take care of your emotions is by tending to them. You have to tend to your emotions. It's not about like, no one else should tell you how emotional you should or shouldn't be. It's just part of who you are, right? But you want to tend to your own emotions. You've got to know what's happening with you when you get angry, when you get frustrated, when you're feeling, insecure. You've got to know how to handle, you got to know what to do when you have those emotions. And if you didn't grow up in a place where, you knew what to do, when you felt frustrated or angry, there was like a conversation that was there was some actual tools being given to you. If you didn't grow up in that type of household, this, when you're having anger and insecurity and all that, you may want to lash out. You may want to retaliate. You may want to feel so hurt that you can't go on with life because somebody did something to you that hurt you that deeply, that you no longer know how to thrive. So you got to take care of yourself emotionally. You got to know how to emotionally regulate. You got to be able to pay attention to when you're feeling insecure and not letting it get to a place where you feel powerless. And when you do get to that place where you feel powerless, that you understand that you have to nurture yourself because you're in some pain and you're feeling like you have no other tools. And that's the time when you need you the most to be compassionate and kind and loving and nurturing and know what you need and what that looks like for you. It looks different for different people. For you, it might be more sleep and reading a book. And for me, it might mean, isolation, for a week, really taking that time to think. Or for someone else, it could be, signing up to a marathon. It could look different for different people. And instead of us like taking care of our emotional state with what everybody else says you need, you've got to figure out what it is that you need in the moment. When you're feeling insecure, you don't need their behavior necessarily to change. You need to figure out why this is triggering you. That's your stuff. And it's not that they shouldn't be mindful of those things, but it's not a requirement in order for you to move through that emotion. And I got to tell you, that's some stuff nobody was talking about where I grew up. So today I feel I have some tools, to make sure that my thinking is positive and to make sure that my emotional state is good. And when it gets to, a place where maybe, I still have, disappointments, right? Sometimes some things are unexpected. Things happen and, you think you're building maybe a friendship with someone and then you find out they're saying some stuff behind your back that you're like, man, I thought I was building a friendship and I don't know what they was doing, right? But that's not your stuff. That doesn't take away your value. That doesn't mean that because you thought you were building a friendship and they were creating some other, stuff that you didn't align with it anymore. So the universe took care of it. So instead of staying in the, what had happened, we really got to learn to scoop into the bright side. Like, what is the bright side of this story? Because there's always a bright side, but we're talking about the side that doesn't benefit us. I've learned how to scoop into the bright side, and anything that happens in my life now, there's a bright side that's a lesson that expands me, that expands my thinking, that causes me to open, to be more loving, to not need anybody to change, but for me to really understand how I need to take care of myself. And if they want to come along, great, This is a new kind of dance that I'm doing. I wasn't doing this dance before. And, and this is how I'm learning to love on myself. It doesn't always look like spas and getting your nails done. It looks like taking a mental health day and it looking like what you need it to look like. It could be a trip to, another city. It could be a beach day. It could be a day of shopping. It could be a day of, creating something beautiful. Your mental health day doesn't have to look like anybody else's process, but you got to make sure that you're taking care of your emotional state and you're not making that anybody else's responsibility. So that relationship with yourself is about taking care of your mental state, taking care of your emotional state, and really feeding your spirit. Because when we come in together wanting to be soulmates and want to connect on a soul level, but if you ain't taking care of your soul, how are you cannot deeply connect to another soul from a place that you're not even reaching. So you want to make sure that you're feeding your soul. What's really beautiful and attractive is when somebody is really, when you engage with somebody that just, you can feel their soul. Like, it's not their conversation. It's an energy that they have that you feel, when you feel like either you're safe or you feel like they've given you some knowledge that just, like, or, like an artist, right? When they sing a song and you feel their soul in that song. It's not about like how they sung it. It's like you feel their soul in that music. That's how you deeply connect with another person. You got to be taking care of your soul. So when you're getting into the depths of despair and you're, feeling insecure about yourself, and you're taking all this evidence from the outside world that you're not enough or you're not good enough, and you're not really feeding the seeds of your soul. You're not doing things that bring you joy. You're not taking a lot of your money to make sure that you are happy. Now my money goes to making me happy. And I'm generous with it, but I have to be generous with myself, and I make sure that I'm always being coached, and I'm making sure that my money is being spent on things that will put the brightest smile on my face. And I didn't do that before. I spent money on stuff that everybody spends money on, clothes and and things and cars and whatever, right? But now I spend it on hats because I love hats, right? But I'll wear the same one over and over again. But like jewelry, but now I don't need to have 10 and 20 of them. I spend it on experiences. Like, my partner and I got this RV, and we got a place for it. And, we went on this beautiful vacation to Africa that I surprised her with, and it went on her engagement ring, and like, so now I spend my money on things that are going to just light my eyes up. If I can provide an experience for someone that, had never had it before, and I have the money to do it, like, that shit fills me up. It lights me up. It lights me up like a light bulb, And so now, I don't want to spend it on shit that I have to spend it on. Like I don't want to be house heavy. I don't want to have things so that other people can think I'm successful. Like, I just want to spend my money on things that expand me, like coaching and like, going to see, my favorite artist or whatever. I want to spend my money on things that are going to make me happy, and traveling makes me happy. So, I obviously got to make more money, right? So that I can live this really free life. But, my energy is different now, because now I'm not trying to earn money. I'm trying to attract money. It's different, so I'll tell you how that's going. I'm still in the learning phase, but, so the other thing, when I think about this relationship with myself, is that I really I really had to turn inward and just like really get to know who I was at this age. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we're just living in habits all the time, that we're living in this routine and kind of life of, just trying to be successful. And I changed trying to be successful to being happy and joyful. I didn't want success to be the thing that drove me. I wanted happiness to be the thing that drove me. And I knew the more that I was, focusing on my joy, that that my life would become more successful, and it has, So, but I just thought, like, what really lights me up is I love talking about relationships, and I love empowering people. I love being the friend that you call when you're having some type of issue, and I'm the one that lets you know that it's okay to feel how you feel, and that there is no judgment, there is only love. And what can we do to get you like into a better emotional place? Like, that's the friend that I want to be. I'm not the one that's going to come and like want to beat anybody up or anything like that. Like, to how do you expand yourself so that you can love on yourself more? So, and I found that when I had employees and, I was involved in their lives, personally, because I felt invested in being a part of empowering people in the world. That's not to say I haven't hurt people and I haven't done anything that was, different. But I know for me that when people are maybe struggling in their lives and in their relationships, that, I feel like I'm the friend that wants to step up and give you a lot of love and positivity. So, that translated to coach for me. So, and I decided that I didn't want to be an entrepreneur as much as I wanted to do this for people. I didn't want to do this to just make money, because even though I was going on fancy vacations and I had like, nicer shoes or whatever, like, my life wasn't better. Like, I was only happy on the vacations, and then I was coming back to this like hustle and a lot of work and a lot of business meetings and a lot of learning, and it just I wasn't doing things that was filling my spirit. Like, I needed to go to more concerts, and I needed to have more fun, and I needed to do more things that allowed me to collaborate with others in more of a fun way, or more in a way that I feel like we're expanding personally. And I didn't always feel like that in those entrepreneur type environments. So anyway, so I don't even know where I went with this, but so I began to do things that I said, I'm just going to do the stuff that lights up my spirit. And, so coach was it was natural, that's naturally me anyway. Right. And then, but, that's not my end game. I'm expanding in such beautiful ways. And, so I don't know what the rest of this looks like, but I'm open to like kind of figuring this out too. And, I'm saying that relationship with yourself, make sure you're feeding the seeds of your soul, whatever that is. Like, I have to have more travel in my life, but not only more travel, but I have to have a different environment. And, it needs to look different, because I'm in this place where I want to have a new experience. I want to be flexible in all environments, and I want to just really surround myself with different environments and different people and just different collaborations. So, I'm just saying, whatever that is, if you're going to the same place and you're doing the same thing and you're having the same conversations and you're feeling like you can't do anything to level up your happiness, I would challenge you to think differently about that, because maybe you're not at a place where you can travel, whenever you want, but you can absolutely go to a park, if you hadn't been doing that before. Like, you can switch it up. There are things you can do to make yourself feel good. I started to even like make beautiful dinners for myself. Like, I'm not a great cook, but I love romantic dinners. And I was like, I knew when I was, going to be in my relationship, I'd be having romantic dinners all the time. And we do. So, so I manifested that, right? But I used to have beautiful dinners for myself because I wanted to make the night special. Like, I would, I'd take this really nice hot shower and put on all these different oils and whatever, and put on my really cool pajamas and, make a really beautiful meal and put candles on and light some, smell goods and I would really just enjoy the evening. And I was enjoying my time, and because I love that stuff, and it didn't have to be with anybody else because I was already preparing the environment, for someone to come in and share this beautiful, setting with me. So, it isn't crazy that now my girlfriend and I, whenever we have dinner together, we make it very special. And I set up the table and put out all the stuff, and she loves to cook, so she puts all these different sauces, and and so we both manifested this. But so you've got to find ways to bring joy into your life, and that shouldn't be your partner's job of feeding your spirit and feeding your mind and feeding your body. It's I understood, and I didn't understand this before, in the relationships, that in my prior relationship, is that I'm coming to the relationship not to just share, money and time, but I'm sharing energy, and energy is emotion. Like, I'm coming to share emotion, and do I want to share a lot of sadness and a lot of frustration and a lot of insecurity and fear? That's not what I want to share. I want to share more positive emotions than negative. So in order for me to share more joy, to share joy, I got to be in some joy. In order for me to share, hope, I've got to feel hopeful. In order for me to share, if I'm, I don't want to share frustration and anger and like, those are my emotions. So I gotta, if I can't do it any better, I can't do it any better. But it's really important for me to, try to make sure that I understand what those things mean before I'm even sharing it with others. I know, for me, another thing that I've done is, if I'm having something in my life that's stressing me or something, I don't talk about it. And it's not that I'm not talking about it because I don't want people to know, is because I don't want that to continue to be my vibration. Like, I know that the more I repeat stuff and that I submit those, those thoughts in my brain, and then I'm living that emotion of that again. Like, so if I'm talking about something that like I'm disappointed about, so I'm disappointed about this thing, and now I go talk about my disappointment about this thing, and then I go again and I talk about this disappointment of this thing. I start to submit that, and that's where, and I remember the feeling of that every time, and I'm getting upset again, and I'm not trying to get myself up the emotional scale, or I'm not trying to get to a better, happier place. I keep repeating it and wondering why I'm not getting over it. And now I'm thinking in my mind, I should have said this and I should have said that. And then, I'm replaying this, and I'm hitting that emotion again and again. And then, and I think it's somebody else's fault for triggering me. So, and the fact that I keep pressing the button again, I'm still making it their fault when I'm not making sure that I'm in an emotional place where it doesn't feel so triggered so much, or I'm communicating that this is triggering me. So, and they're being mindful. But I understand now that that's my work. That's not for anybody else to do for me. So if I'm having, an emotion about something, that it's important for me to, take care of that. And then come to the relationship ready to share love and solution and repair and, all that good stuff. So how's that relationship going for yourself? You got to make sure that you're taking care of your happiness. And sometimes we are responsible for so much that we can't see how we can grab moments for ourselves. But, that is a mindset shift. If you continue to believe that, that's the way it'll always be. And you won't be able to perceive anything different because you don't think in a different way. And you can always start small. It doesn't have to be major. I know for me, the way I learn is, by repetition and taking baby steps. So, you can teach yourself to love on yourself more by, being more intentional with the things that like. Sometimes it was the same thing that I was doing for myself. Like, say, I'm washing my clothes, right? But now I'm thinking about it in a new awareness. So not only am I, washing my clothes, but I'm taking care of myself. Like I'm getting my clothes ready to wear, and I'm making sure that they're clean. I had to see it as an act of love for myself, so that I can see. I had to look for ways that I can move towards joy and not stay in how I wish my life was different. Because we do that all day long. Most of our energy is devoted to how we wish our lives were different. And that's not good self-care. To continuously be in the vibration of I wish my life was different. But it's natural, right? I don't know if it may be natural or it's a habit now. But you want to change that. And it's going to be mechanical at first. It's going to feel like, I got to interrupt that thought. Here I go again, thinking that, I can't be happy, or I'm complaining about something, or getting really overwhelmed when something happens, or having trust issues about something, and not believing in myself again. Like, I'm either beating that drum or I'm trying to put some earmuffs on so I don't hear the beating of the drum, so that I can start drumming some new things. But I may not be able to just go from this to this. I may be, instead of going like this, I might just be going like this now, right? And then maybe like this. And then, for those who are on, listening to this, I'm doing a visual of beating a drum, and, you may go from beating that drum really fast, like you were just always speaking negatively about yourself, and you just boom, 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 and then, and then it becomes lighter, bump, 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 bump. It becomes lighter and lighter. This is not about perfection, and then you'll get to the point where you're not beating the drum as often. You might pop it here or there once a week, pop, pop, and you don't have to feel bad about that. But, now you want to go over here and start beating a new drum. And that's the one of, how you are so grateful to be alive. There are people out here not living. They're here, but they're not living, and you got to choose to live. And not only choose to live, but you got to choose to thrive. You don't want to be here just living. You want to thrive. You want to be happy. You want to love more. You want to grow. You want to swim. You want to dance. You want to grow some plants. Why are you not doing the things that you absolutely love? And you're sitting in frustration about something. There's always something that we could be frustrated about. But we have to choose the things that we want to be grateful for. And I tell you, if every day you're choosing what you're feeling grateful for and not discounting your emotions. So being in gratitude doesn't mean you discount your emotions. Where you're steeped in gratitude every day, where you're just so thankful to be alive, and you're thankful that you're able to, have another meal, and you're thankful that, that somebody watched your videos, and you're thankful that you've got clean clothes, and you're thankful that you've got, food on the table, or you're thankful that you've got a parent that's living, whatever it is, and you're steeping yourself in gratitude, like that becomes more natural than this. So when this comes up, it's like when something negative comes up, or it's jarring almost, because it's not something that that's not your normal state. So you want your normal state to be of joy and gratitude and positivity, because that's how you stay thriving. But your emotions make you who you are. So this is not about always being happy. It's about learning how to get to satisfaction when things get challenging. When, people in your life transition and you still have to go on, because you can't mourn for them forever. Like, you have to remember that they brought so much value to your life that you want to keep remembering all the joy that they brought to your life, not the one time that they weren't here anymore. But that takes practice. For some people, that takes some, you got to learn how to calibrate yourself. You got to learn how to figure out how you choose, because there's not a right or wrong way to satisfaction. Everybody's got a different satisfaction level. And, but we're here to enjoy life and to get life's beautiful lessons. And I don't know about you, but I want to live it really, really good. And I find that when I'm taking care of myself, I'm taking care of my emotional state, my mental state, and I'm really feeding the seeds of my soul, that I'm not making that anybody else's responsibility, that I live a more emotionally independent life. And now everything is a choice. I'm choosing to love. I'm choosing to share. I'm choosing to grow. I'm choosing to have this experience with someone else. And when I feel like I have a choice, I'm in my power. And now I'm sharing empowerment as well as joy. So that's my tidbit for today, for this podcast. I don't know, I wanted to do something a little different. And, I just wanted to talk about that relationship with you. How is that relationship with you? And, when people are saying, are you focusing on you? They talk about your mind, your body, and your spirit. Are you taking care of those things? And if you're in a relationship with someone where you feel like they are stopping you from thriving, then you are not taking care of you, because that's not their job. So you've got to figure out a way that you've got to take care of you. And it looks different for different people. But I would say the one step is making sure that you're thinking new thoughts. You can't be thinking these thoughts that keep you limited. You got to figure out how you can read more books, listen to more podcasts, go for more walks, and find a new way of thinking, because these thoughts are being created in your mind based on some past experiences. But, in order to have a new experience, you got to think differently and you got to feel differently. So when you're thinking different, it affects your emotions. And if you're not moving your body and you're not making sure that you're taking care of yourself physically, so you're bringing new energy into your body, that when you're having, sadness and you're having frustration that they don't need to change, you have to understand how you emotionally regulate without them having to change. Doesn't mean you don't want to have a relationship with somebody where you're collaborating and having a beautiful relationship, but this is about you thriving at this point. This is about you putting on your oxygen mask. So, they shouldn't have to change in order for you to feel different. You got to figure out what you need in the moment and go get that so that you're okay. Your spirit is feeding your soul. Like, don't spend your life doing what you're just responsible for. You got to spend your life making it joyful and making it where you expand. Like, if you're supposed to be traveling, you better be traveling. If you're supposed to be, speaking to people in a way that, you better start doing it. You don't have to do it in a big way. You could do it in a small way. You can figure out a way to do it. Come DM me. I'll tell you how to do it. But I'm just saying you've got to start in small ways. Moving towards what makes you happy, what makes you joyful. This is your job. This is nobody else's job. You can't sit and be mad at somebody's behavior that's causing a shift in your emotional state and you're not doing anything about it. You're not doing anything about it and you just keep blaming them and you just keep judging them and you're not doing anything about it. It's your job to take care of you. It's not your job to judge whatever journey they need to be on to be whoever they need to be. It can't be your way sometimes, and you got to know what to do in the moment. You got to have the ability to have some discernment for yourself. You got to take care of yourself because you're no longer sharing love. You're no longer sharing joy. You're no longer sharing those things. You're just sharing insecurity and fear and frustration and anguish, and nothing beautiful is going to be created out of that. Well, unless y'all both musicians, y'all can make a beautiful movie or music or something, but I don't know. But, you get some kind of lesson out of it, but I'm sure you much rather share a lot of love and joy. So whatever that relationship with you is, make sure that you getting it popping. And sometimes you got to make some choices that are difficult. Sometimes you got to say no. And, and sometimes you got to feel selfish. Yeah. Because if you're anything like me, you want people to think you're kind and you're sweet. And the last thing you want them to think is that you're selfish. But sometimes that's what's going to help you to expand with them more, by taking care of yourself and not making them responsible, and then you feeling resentful of the stuff you didn't do for yourself, for them. Like, you don't want to do any of that. You want to make sure that taking care of you is your responsibility. And I'm telling you, when you're bright and shiny and doing all the things for you, you light up in a way that they want nothing more than to be in your cipher. So you're not losing out on anything. You're offering them more positive emotion than negative emotion. Nothing but beautiful things will be created out of that. So thank you for tuning in this week. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.